In this video, I'll be talking about scorecards. Specifically, I'll show you how you can create and grade scorecards. So let's get started. In TestCentre, scorecard is an assessment tool that allows you to grade a candidate that is taking an essay question or a practical procedure. So let me be more specific. So let's say you set an essay question where the candidates are expected to write the answers in a booklet or some piece of paper. In that scenario, if you want to grade those students digitally, you can use the scorecard to grade those students digitally. So I'll show you how to do that. Then another scenario where you want to use the scorecard is where you have some procedures to be carried out by the students. So let's say you have some candidates sitting for an exam that is procedural. So let's say they are meant to carry out some actions, and as an examiner, you want to grade them based on those actions that you're observing. Scorecard is just a perfect tool you can use to grade such an exam. So a perfect example is this OSCE exam taken by nursing/midwifery students. So this exam is a procedural exam where those students are expected to carry out certain actions, and the examiner is meant to observe what the student is doing and grade them. So you can digitally grade them using scorecard. So let me show you an example of how the OSCE exam looks like. So here is an example of questions a question that is designed for OSCE candidates. So take a look at this checklist. Now, in this is just one of the exams that they take, or one of the procedures that they carry out. So this particular procedure is known as oral drugs administration, right? So this booklet or checklist is typically held by the examiner. Now, the examiner has the following items to observe. So under preparation, the examiner is to verify if the candidate carries out identifies the patient and the prescription. And the second thing is whether the candidate greets and introduces themselves properly, and so on and so forth. So these are the checklists that the examiner is going to be ticking. So let's say, for example, the first procedure, let's say the candidate or the nurse carried it out almost perfectly. So in this case, the candidate may get an almost perfect score. Typically, the score is within 0 to 1, right? So the first the first mark is 0, then second is 1/4, third is half, then the other one is 2/4, then the last is 1. So typically, they can get any point from 0 to 1. And the common difference in the marking is 1/4, right? So that's just an example. And if you check other papers, so these are other, well, I say procedures that they carry out. So these are other procedures. So they have several procedures. So this is typically used by the examiners. But these days, they've digitized their grading system, right? So the goal of scorecard is to digitize the grading of these procedures. And this scorecard is perfectly designed for such an exam. So let's dive into scorecard. So aside OSCE and essay-based exam, you can use scorecard for even workplace. So let's say you want to grade your staff or in an organization based on certain procedures or based on certain checklists. You can use the scorecard to carry such assessments. And it's also used by individuals performing oral interviews. So let's say you are conducting an oral interview where you have someone in front of you as an examiner or as a judge, and you are asking some questions, maybe in terms of, do you observe, you are trying to grade the candidate based on certain qualities, like maybe the dressing, maybe is the person outspoken, does the person have soft skill or IT skills. So let's say you're observing all of those things as you're interviewing those candidates. Scorecard is perfectly suitable for you to grade such interview without having to hold a physical paper. So let's dive into exactly how to create a scorecard and exactly how to grade scorecard. Okay, so let's get into it. So the first thing you need to do is to go to scorecard here. So here's the scorecard menu, right? It's right below test menu. When you go there, you'll see manage. Now, this is where you upload the candidate and the likes. But before we go into that, the first thing you want to do is to set your question. So that's the first thing, because the questions are the items you want to observe, or and the mark you want to assign, the maximum mark you want to assign to each of those items. So how do you create those questions or those items you want to mark? So you do that by setting your question in using the Edu editor. So if you have not learned how to use the Edu editor, it's straightforward. You can easily download or get a copy of it, install it by clicking this content editor here, and it's going to save. It's going to save. It's already offline. Just for you to save it right into your PC, and then you can type your question. So that we have a video on how to use the Edu editor, but I'm going to show you a sample question that I've created that has to do with this OSCE exam. So let's go. Let me open one of them. So here is a sample content I've created. So I'm going to launch it. So once you launch it, it opens this up. If you are familiar with the Edu editor, you understand that we have the objective tab where you create or set objective and subjective questions. Then we have the theory tab where you set theory or essay question. So if you want to set question for scorecard, you have to set or create them under the theory tab. So the way you create theory is similar to how you create objective. You add the subject, then you add a season, then you can now add as many questions as possible. You can name your question 1, 2, 3, ABC, or whatever nomenclature you wish to use. Okay, so what I simply did here was to just type the procedures. That is, I mean, the items I intend to observe. I basically typed that question I showed you earlier under that OSCE exam. I just pick one of the procedures, and here we have all the 13 questions or items we are interested in observing. Then another thing I did was to add this topic, right? This topic. You can add topic in Edu editor. You can always assign topics to questions. So all I did was just assign topic to distinguish between questions that relate to preparation, because in OSCE, there are 3 groups. We have preparation, we have procedural, and we have this category called finish. So all I just did was to assign it question to each of those sub items. I mean, those headings, right? So you may ask, why is it necessary? It's not necessary. You may choose not to break them down. You may choose not to assign a topic. But if you do assign a topic, the benefit is when you see your result, you'll be able to see results based on those topics. So let's say overall the candidate got maybe 70%. You might want to know, okay, what's the score under a particular topic? So you want to know what the score is for a particular subset of the item. So that's why topic might be important to you. Okay, so once it's very straightforward. You just type the question, and if you care to assign a topic, you just assign a topic, and that's it. Then if you don't care about assigning topic, you move on. You set the next question, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Then once you are done, you click on save and you deploy. Once you click on this deploy, you are good to go. But before you deploy, if you are familiar with the content editor, you know you have to set your project property under settings. Then you have project. You need to set maybe the name of the exam, right? Then the version and other things. So this is just sample settings, right? So once you have deployed, you are good to go. So this has been typed and this is good to go. So what I'm going to do now is to import it into the TestCentre admin. So let's take a look. So to import into the TestCentre admin, all I'll do is to go right into the content as menu, right? Then I'll click on manage. Then under manage, you go to add. So I'm just going to go to add. Then from my local PC, I'm going to give this one OSCE just to be able to remember the content code. So I'm going to click on proceed. Then I'm going to browse to wherever the content is. So this is where the content is. Then this is the file I'm looking for, the zip file. Then once I click on open, then it's done. So I've added or imported the content. So if you scroll down, you'll see that we now have OSCE content code. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the manage. Then now it's time to add your candidates. So let's say I have 1, 2, 300 candidates. You can always do that. So your candidate must have been pre-created here. So for those of you that know how to do that, you can easily add as many candidates as possible. Their reg number, their name. Optionally, you can add the email, you can add the phone, you can add the class, right? So you can do all of that here. So let me go right into the manage under scorecard. So in this case, I'm going to set a test just for a candidate. You can set for an entire class. Like you can, if for example, you have 100 people under a class, you can just set at once for all those 100 people. Then for a single candidate, it's just for you to enter the reg number. So I'm going to use this reg number. I'm going to proceed. Then now I'll choose the content. So mind you, it does not allow objective. It's only theory content. So it will filter away all content that are not theory because Scorecard only takes in theory content. So now this is my OSCE content. Now, the next thing is to choose the subject. So there's only one subject and I'm good to go. There's only one season, so I'm good to go. Then you can set a batch number the way you want. You can also set the start date and deadline. So let's say you want the grading of this particular procedure to happen tomorrow. You can choose when you want that grading to start. So this is just to control access so that someone will not just start grading it right away. So once you are done, you click on send and it's good to go like it's already created. So the next phase is to license. So it's similar to how you license your test. So it uses the test license. So you just go to license and you licenses it as usual. But in Scorecard, only one subject can be added, right? So only one subject. So you're just licensing it as a single subject. So I'm going to license this now. So I'm going to click on license and let's see what happens next. So the test is licensed and ready to go. Okay, so the next question is, what if I want to import in mass? You can always import in mass by using the same way. You can import using Excel. That is, you can type all the detail of the candidate in Excel and import it, right, from Excel. So you may ask, how do I get a template for scorecard? Yes, if you go on that template, we now have template for scorecard. You can either pick Excel or CSV. I may ask, okay, can I see how the template looks like? Yes, you can see it. So let me show it to you. So this is how the template looks like. It's very basic. You have reg number, that's the candidate reg number. You just populate everything here. Then the content code, you populate it here, whatever the content code is. Then you attach theory to it. Then the subject. So whatever the name of the subject, whatever the name of the season, then the mock number, and that's it. So this basically the template. So let's get back to the next thing. So the next thing on your mind is how do we actually grade it? Okay, but before I go into that, let me just show you the settings. So let's go to settings, under scorecard. Under scorecard, you have the following. You have the URL that the examiner can use to grade. So the way scorecard works is this is something that will be done by URL. Typically, it's not the admin that will do the grading. It's typically is the examiner, and this might be external people like external examiners, or it might be teachers within the organizations or the organization. So how are they going to perform the grading? Let's say I happen to be an examiner and I want to grade a particular candidate. So what do I do? Then what I'll do is to visit any of this link, right? So I'll visit any of this link on any browser. So the browser could be on your mobile device, it could be on a tablet, it could be on the laptop. So, but the device must be networked within a network of that server, right? So just make sure the device is within the network. So if you're using a laptop, make sure the laptop is within the network. If you're using a mobile device, make sure the mobile device is within a network. So typically, a mobile device can be within a network when it is connected, when there's a particular hotspot connecting the laptop of the admin and the mobile device. But anyways, you may ask, why two of this? So typically you use the IP address on any device. So IP address works on whether mobile device, whether laptop. So mobile device will not work with this. If you open this on a mobile device, it won't work because Android devices and likes, they tend to look for this outside the network. So you may not get any response. But IP address will always work whether on mobile or desktop devices. But on desktop, you can easily use this TestCentre as PC or whatever the name of the PC is. Okay, so what about this? So this is to enable or disable the scorecard URL. So what this means is if you disable this, what that means is anybody that tries to load that page won't get a response because uh, let's say, for example, you don't want third parties to access it at a particular time. You don't want someone to just load that page. You can just disable it. And when you do that, it means just disable and say, when you do that, anybody that tries to open that link, it just fail, right? It will just redirect them or just give them a default page not found. But if you enable it, that means it's active. Examiner can do their job, right? Okay, so the next is the scorecard mark division. So what does this mean? So when you have a mark division of 4, what it means is the maximum will be 0 and the step will be 1/4. So this 4 means your common difference will be 1/4. So think about it this way. If the maximum mark is 1, now it means the examiner can assign 0, can assign 1/4, can assign 2/4, which is 1/2, then can assign 3/4, then finally 1. So it's just like saying the denominator of the fraction. So like 1/4 or 2/4 or 3/4 and finally 1. So that's what the mark division is. So in case you have a grading system where you want to assign 1/10, let's say you want your grading to be 1/5, like spacing of 1/5, you can choose 5. If you want your spacing to be 1/6, you can use 6 and up to 10. So the maximum or the maximum number here is 10, which is you can assign 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on. So that's what this means. Okay, but the default is 4. Then what about this access code? The access code is like a password that every examiner needs to grade because you don't want any random third party to just grade themselves, right? So there's need for a password. You can always change the password anytime, any day. You can set your own password, right? And you'll save it. So then this is the obtainable mark. The maximum obtainable mark is designed for the final reporting. So it's not useful for the examiner, it's useful for the final reporting. So let's imagine the entire procedure, the mark is, let's say, 5, for instance. Now, you may want everything to be converted to over 100 when you want to print the result. So this one is for printing sake, when you want to present the result or export the result. So that's what this maximum, this obtainable mark represents. Okay, so that's fine. So let's move on to how to actually grade. So how do you grade? What's the interface like? So let's open that page. So this is the interface where you grade. So if you check the URL, you'll see I'm using TestCentre-PC:93. Then I have my scorecard/examiner. You can open this on a mobile device as well, but using the IP address. But note that if you're using a mobile device, make sure that the firewall is turned off. If your firewall is not turned off, your mobile device won't be able to connect to the PC. So to turn off your firewall is just to search for check firewall, then open it. Once you open it, you are going to get this interface. Once you get this interface, you can turn off or on your firewall, right? So what I mean is you can change the firewall, you can enable it or disable it by going to this place. Once you go to this place, you can turn it off, then click on OK. then it goes off. But if you are connected to PCs, you don't have to turn off firewall. It's not necessary. Okay, so let's now talk about the grading. So if, as an examiner, let's say I want to grade a candidate, how do I go about it? I will just request for the candidate's rec number. Then I'll request for the subject. So why you need to enter the subject, it is possible that different examiners are grading different things, right? So this is not just designed for procedural exam. It may also be for a theory exam where, let's say, maths teacher is grading maths, an English teacher is grading English. So you have to select the subject. So in our case, what was the subject? In our case, the subject name is oral drugs administration, which is shortened as admin. So let's type it out. So the subject is oral drugs admin. It is not case sensitive, so you can have small letter, capital letter, the system will take care of it. Then the access code is like the password, as I said earlier. So in this case, I'm going to provide my access code, then click on proceed. So once I click on proceed, it presents me the candidate's picture, the reg number of the candidate, and it also shows the name of the, this is the content code, and this is the subject, right? So it just presents the information that I need. Okay, so let's move on to the grading. So how do I grade? So here's the first item or question, as the case may be. Then what score am I assigning to this person? So let's say the person is performing the procedure right in front of me. I may say, oh, this person got, let's say this mark. Then I will move on to the next. So maybe this person got a full mark for this. Then I may say, okay, maybe half mark. Then in this case, maybe full mark. So the next question, maybe full mark. Then in this case, maybe almost full. Then let's say the student didn't perform very well here, right? Then I'm going to choose this. So as you keep grading, you'll see that it begins to add up. So this is the cumulative, right? So it means this is the total out of 13 points so far. Then it also indicates, the green indicates that you've actually populated them. Then the blue indicates that you haven't actually assigned any score. And if you try to submit, it will not submit because you haven't completed the grading. So there's no timing here because this is an examiner. So there's nothing like timing. We're not timing the examiner. It's just for the examiner to get the grading done. Okay, so let's get this score assigned. Let's get this other score assigned. So let's say this is a full mark. Then let's say this is another mark. Then finally, let's say this is another mark. Let's say there's a full mark here. Then let's say this is almost. Then let's say this is this. So that's all. So altogether, let's say the candidate got 10 out of 13, right? And now I'm done. I can easily go back to any question and change if I wish to change the point. And yeah, that's it. So now let's say I'm done. What do? I submit. So to submit, you need, as an examiner, you need to provide your information. So you need to provide your name or the ID. So the school might want to use the name, or it's more or less like the signature, because to submit, you want to know who is actually submitting, right? So the signature of the examiner or the name or the ID, whatever the organization chooses. Then a remark. So this is like an additional statement. So you may say, okay, maybe this student performed well, this and that. So whatever remark the examiner wishes to provide. So let's say I say, okay, this is an excellent student. Okay, let me just say excellent student. So then the next is to click on send. And once you click on send, it sends it immediately and it's all done. So you log out and that's it. The examiner is done with the grading, and the examiner can move on to another student and carry out a new grading. So let's go back to the TestCentre admin. So now I'm going to refresh this page to show you that it's now submitted. So it's submitted and the result is available. So let's go to the result section. So if you go to result section, you can see that we have the grade. So if you notice here, the grade is now 76 over 100. So the reason is we decided to scale everything up to 100. So it's very easy to know why it's 76. The reason is if I have 10 over 13, then if I take 13 to 100, then it means I'll have to multiply something to get my 10 to 76. So it's basically 100 over 13 times 10. So that's basically what it means. Like 100 divided by 13, then times 10. That gives you 76. Okay, so the next is I can also go back to whatever obtainable mark. So I can change it on the fly. So it's not cast in stone. So if I don't want this obtainable mark to be applied, I want it to apply the default score. I'll just set the obtainable mark to 0. Then I go back to result. Then it retains the original mark as defined in the content. Under the result, let me show you the information you can check for each candidate. You can check the detailed results. So this one will show you a breakdown of the candidate's information, the overall score, and the examiner's remark, as you can see. Then it gives you a breakdown of how the candidate performed based on the topic you specify. You know, as you can recall, when I created this content, I assigned topics to each item or question. So we have procedure, preparation, and finish. So for procedure, this is the score, and here's the total number of items, right? So I have 5 points out of 6. And the same thing goes to other topic. So this is the details. So you can print it as PDF and do whatever I want to do with it. Then I can view the correction. The correction allows me to see a summary of the information and the question with the obtainable mark for each question and the actual score obtained for each question. And you can also print it. Then you can send results as SMS if you wish to. Just like in the case of test, you can sort the results by score, by dates, by name, and other variables. Now, aside taking or checking individual results, you can perform group action, right? But before I talk about group action, let's talk about export. You can export the result as Excel and send to the exam body or whoever cares. Then you can also visualize it in form of table. So I can see all of these results. So this is designed for a case where you want to visualize all the results at once instead of just each result. Then it shows you the score, the obtainable mark, and every other thing you need to know. And you can print as PDFs. Okay, then you can perform group action. So what is this group action all about? If in case you want to send all of this result as SMS, then you can do that here. Then if you want to send the result via URL, so this is designed for programmers that want to push the results to a given website for them to store within an online server. Okay, so for this other one, let me talk about this. This is a very new feature we introduced both for test and group action. So this allows you to get insight into the performance across board. So let's say let's say we've got 100 students and you want to see how they perform in each item. You can pick the content. So let's say in this case, I'm interested in this content. And let's say I'm interested in this particular subject this season, and this is the order I want. Now you can see that once you look at or you open this question analysis, you'll be able to see each question. Then you'll be able to see the score distribution. So what the score distribution means is for this particular score, right? I mean, for this particular score, the frequency is how many times did it occur. So what that means is only it occurs twice, like 2 people got 0 for this particular question, then 1 person got 1. That is for a score of 1, only 1 person got it. So which implies that we have a total of 3 candidates, then this is the mean of their score, this is the median, and so on and so forth. So this helps you to have an insight into how the candidate performed overall. So you can tell a question or items where they perform poorly at or where they perform better at. Okay, so let's close this. So the other thing is you can export the entire result to PDF. So let's say you want to export each result to PDF. So instead of saving each of them one by one, instead of clicking this and printing, you can export the entire, if there are 100, you can export everything to a single PDF. To several PDF, you'll be asked to save. So in this case, let's say I want to save all the results here. So I can choose to create a folder. So let me call this folder result folder. And once I do that, let's save all of this here. So let me click on this. So once you do this, it's going to start the saving process. Even if there are 10, 20, 100, it will save all the results into separate PDF so that you send to whoever cares to receive them. So I'm going to open that PDF just for you to see how it looks like. So here's the folder containing all the results. You can see now we have all of these results. So if I open any of them, you'll see we have the result for this. So you can export everything, you share it with the candidate or whoever cares to see the result. So that's basically all you need to know about Scorecard. So the summary of this is Scorecard allows you to grade theory questions or essay questions, especially questions that the student gets to do on paper, and you want to grade everything digitally so that all the results will be digitally available right on the test center. Then you also use Scorecard for certain exams that are procedurals, like the OSCE exams or a job interview, a kind of interview process, and many other assessment. So it's a great tool for several organizations. I would hope you find this useful.